everyone, welcome back to the second album layout share for these layout shares that I'm doing. I'm just gonna get right into it. This is from Dear Lizzy. Most of the stuff here is from Dear Lizzy, with the exception of these little stickers here. These were from a little sticker book from Heidi Swapp, and so was this. I did use some dimensional stickers and some wood veneer, and one in here as well. I think that helps create that visual triangle, but most of the embellishing more left hand justified, and I really liked how this one ended up too. Over here it has a bunch of words that kind of give it that feeling of being out and exploring and being on vacation or traveling. I really had a lot of fun trying to incorporate different types of elements. I really went for it and used a lot of chipboard, and I also have this dimensional sticker. This one is actually a pretty old crepe paper dimensional sticker, and I really like how it went along with all of these words. I felt like I kind of, where this looks kind of like a neon type of font looking word, and these are just outlines of it. And because this was a puffy sticker, it kind of gives it that same kind of look. And since they're all dimensional, I feel like they went. And so that's one of my favorite parts about this layout. I also like that I used, I think this is an ephemera, but there's also a pattern paper that was a bunch of these postcards, maybe even smaller, but it gives them a place to write journaling if they'd like to, and they can even leave it blank if they so choose to. I added a little paper clip too. Those are from Tim Holtz. And then these puffy stickers that I pointed out earlier are they were a gift of Happy Mail from my friend Caitlin. So there's that one. This one is a lot of Amy Tangerine paper, and I believe these are Spellbinders dies that I used for this, and then I used some of these stickers. These circles were all punched out from the same Amy Tangerine paper collection. And then I think this is the only one that doesn't come in that collection, but I could be wrong. And the only thing that isn't really Amy Tangerine, I believe, is this little definition sticker here that says Carpe Diem. I really love the photographs. I think they're really great. I borrowed some of the colors from the photographs themselves and had them come out. The black in his t-shirt I used for the title. I used some of the red, and I was able to incorporate these red photo corners from his shirt, and of course the blues and all the greens. And then I just took a little bit of liberty with the yellows. The yellow could probably be borrowed even from these cement blocks. And yeah, I just really like how this one came out as well. Lots of layering. I matted the photographs with pattern paper. These photos are so colorful. I don't feel like they compete, at least in my eye. I feel like it all goes. The photos are fantastic to begin with, so I don't think it was really hard to just give it more and more color for the layout. This one too is really colorful, but I tried to also do the same thing that I did in the previous layout, where I incorporated some of the things that I saw in the photographs out onto the layout. I use this black background pattern paper because they're both wearing black, and so it's a way to kind of keep your focus on the people in the photographs, but also kind of bring it out and make sure that the look is cohesive. I cut this element out of a cut apart card that was a 4x6. I think it's a fun embellishment. I made it an embellishment, but also by layering it on foam. And then I used these acrylic stars to bring that kind of whimsy to the page. I had a repeating element with the foliage in the photographs, and I brought it out to the background page and also to this tag here. I used one of those large Mambi stickers, and I backed it with some white paper, and then I kind of framed the layout by using some gold washi tape that says treasure every day. And so I really hope they enjoyed it. I like bringing different textures in. This has the gold foil, but I also brought the acrylic that has some glitter effect, and then like different things like the twine and the different stickers. This next one is a pocket page, and I'm not really used to pocket pages, but I saw that I had made layouts with the previous album that were going to be really thick, and so I kind of wanted to condense that some by not making just one photo layouts or even two photo layouts. And I felt like in the same trip that they had, I could incorporate these pocket pages where they have multiple photos, but I could also incorporate some in decorative, right? I wanted to kind of look cohesive. I want to say it was Studio Calico, but I'm not too sure. But it was a 6x6 paper pad. And then these are from Crate Paper and they're just cut aparts. And then, of course, some more of those puffies that Caitlin sent me. And this circle sticker is from Simple Stories. They had little 3x4 pages of like washi strips. And then in those washi strips also came some pieces that had circles on them. And so that's where that's from. Another Heidi Swapp definition sticker. And I even added some label stickers here. And I used some My Mind's Eye letter stickers here. And then I incorporated some more puffy stickers to give it those different elements to make the page with a little more interest. And so I repeated the same thing on this side, but oh my God, these photographs are amazing. I really love the different elements that they took pictures of. I think it's just fascinating. This one has a lot of koi fish here. Yeah, I hope that they can either take out the journaling card or they can leave them blank if they'd like, but they also have small spaces if they just want to write one thing or another. And I really don't do this very much, but I do like the idea of when there is a trip, I think this is a good time to use pocket pages. It could have just had even just photos and had one 3x4 here and then maybe even another 2 photographs, or just filled it all up with photographs and made journaling pockets to go with a hidden journaling card in between the photographs or something. This one has got a couple of different pages. I know it has Fancy Pants. I backed 2 of the photos with one pattern paper and then these opposite photos with the same pattern paper. So these 2 kind of coincide and then these 2 kind of coincide, but it's just another way to add different textures and patterns to make it a more dynamic page. I also like that I added these little star stickers, and honestly, I was just trying to use up these sticker books from Heidi Swapp. I'm just trying to use them up. Aren't we all? Isn't that like the purpose of our embellishments, right? We just want to use things up. So that's what I was using, and I didn't know where else I was going to sprinkle like 30 different stickers into one place. And not that I have 30 here, but it is quite a bit. But it also adds that little fun touch of whimsy. And these are Fancy Pants ephemera as well. I put a couple of these stickers. This is from Amy Tangerine. The rest is from Fancy Pants. And then I also used some chipboard stickers, and then this adventure word is from a Heidi Swapp stickers packet. I used this striped paper. I think it's from Pineapple Crush from Heidi Swapp. And so I also put foam on 2 of the pages, and I put it on the ones that have people in them because I think that'll help make those stand out. And then the other 2 have just, what do they call it? Just kind of elements without people in them. I'll just go with that because I'm at a loss for words. This one is, I did use some Simple Stories elements, and then these are actually some, what is it, DCWV? They had a paper pad that had a bunch of tags and embellish or ephemera, and that's part of those. So I'm glad that I was able to use some of this stuff, including the palm tree, I believe. And then I used some planner stickers in here too that are from My Mind's Eye and this beach collection that was it. And I also used some Heidi Swapp washi tape. So I like that. I was conscious of wanting to use some things that I don't normally go for all the time. So I like that. Even though we have a plethora of embellishments and things to use, tools and washi tape and ephemera, that I can just concentrate on one thing on a layout, and it's fun. You've used some of that product up. It doesn't have to be that you use a whole roll on a layout, but even just using it like this, you know that you're using some of your product up. I also used some mini foam thickers, and then I used stickers for this one because I had a sticker sheet that had fun, and then I think I cut this out of an ephemera piece. And then I added some dimensional dry clear glue or something like that, and it gave it that dimension. Then I used some gemstones, and these are pretty colorful. I really like those. They have a space here to write some journaling if they choose to do so. This one has a lot of crepe paper and simple stories. I wanted to incorporate the stitching, the machine stitching again. When I ripped it up, I started with that first, and I used this simple stories paper, and then I used this one, ripped up the paper, and then taped it on to the background page. Then I stitched it up, and it even has stitching right along the ripped area, and then I made sure not to stitch it all the way to the edge so that I can kind of fold that over. I feel like the ripped paper gives it a frame. And then I also have elements coming out of the frame with this big doily here. These are from My Mind's Eye. These papers here, and then crepe paper. I think this is from Hobby Lobby. More crepe paper. This one's also chipboard. So I really challenged myself to use a lot of chipboard pieces because I don't, as much as I like to purchase them, I find myself not using them enough. And so I really try to focus that on some of the layouts. I kind of give myself a break between layouts too, like where I don't have to always use chipboard paper because of the fact too, my layouts were getting pretty voluminous, and that's hence why I have 2 albums for them as opposed to 1. I added some words here. I stamped the date on one of these tickets, layered the photograph with some vellum, and then I put the picture on dimensional foam because I do have a lot of layers that are very dimensional, like with the chipboard. Really like this one. Just put Paradise down here with some simple story stickers, and I added gold elements into the layout, and then I brought it down here too so that it has it all the way across. I think it looks more like a diagonal piece because you can start from this end and then end on this side when you're looking at the layout. So there's that one. The next one is a double page layout, and these are border strips that come in a little booklet. I think it is DCWV. I used several pieces from Jen Hatfield. Those are chipboard pieces. I used this punch here in this green pattern paper, and also this pattern paper here that is from Indigo and Ivy, but it's this pattern paper that you see here. I punched it out with an EK Success punch that Janet from RTS always recommends. I really love it. I think I'm learning to incorporate it because I love the look of it, but sometimes I feel like the leaves are big. But this just worked perfectly because this chipboard piece was a little bit bigger, and so I was able to ground it some more with different colored papers that I incorporated in the layout. So I have that floral paper, and I have that dark colored piece of paper as well. And the Indigo and Ivy paper that I used is from a project pad, and so it has these like solid cardstock papers, and so I kind of like that for die cuts and punches as well. The chipboard title is from Jen Hatfield or Maggie Holmes, I can't recall. Then I used the pieces of washi from a wedding sticker book. Used my We Are Memory Keepers corner chompers to create this layered look here. Used some Tim Holtz word strips like The Best Day Ever, Seen and Noted, Remember the Now, This Happy Life, Smile, and they're just kind of peppered across the double page layout. I like the use of the photo corners. One of the things that I did like is that this is kind of an inverse of a photo corner because the corners still kind of line up between the layers of the paper, but it also gives it that different texture. And I did use edge punch here that gives it a small scallop with holes in them, and I repeated it over here as well. So there's kind of elements that are going throughout the page, like the florals that help your eye kind of go through the page as well. And then there's also, of course, this piece where they can journal if they'd like to. The only person wearing a bow tie here, because mostly you can see the ties, but this little person here, he's wearing a bow tie, and I thought that was so cute, so I included him here. And then I stamped a heart and the date. Oh, and there's more washi tape there as well. So even though it's busy, I hope that the photographs are able to shine and they kind of complement the colors. The colors all come outside. I didn't think the Indigo and Ivy was a wedding collection per se, but I was able to use it in such a way. And I don't even know If this is a wedding, all I know is that it's a party. It screams that kind of formal kind of party. And so I wanted it to kind of look very nice. I can't think of a word. What other word to use to describe? I'm so lame at describing today. Let's see here. One of the designers that I've realized that I have a hard time using for whatever reason is Paige Evans. But I did like how this came out. It's kind of a square layout, and I used a lot of the 2x2s to kind of fill up the square. And so that's what's in these layouts. It's really colorful, like throughout. The one thing that I did notice is that I can embrace the color. I have a couple of homemade photo corners here. I used some puffy stickers. I can't recall who they're from right now. Several of the Paige Evans embellishments for sure. They're all Paige Evans papers and stickers, I believe, too. One thing that I will note is that, and I have seen this in other YouTube videos where people design little clusters in like the same color family. And so I think that's the one thing I might do different when I play with Paige Evans, because I think she does that as well. But I do like that it's mainly the photographs. For me, I see the photographs first, and then this is just kind of a frame for the actual photographs. This is One Canoe 2 paper. Here is an embossed paper. I used I'm not sure if that's washi tape or if that's an actual punched piece of paper. This was just a scrap of something. And then there's hexagons, and then these are all dimensional embellishments. I punched out a globe, another dimensional sticker, and then these are just, I think this embellishment here is even upside down because I didn't want this border here and this yellow border here right next to it. I kind of wanted it to have more like a bookended type of line in the embellishment of it. I like that it has the different textures. I even added a little enamel dot there and a couple here. Enamel dots for me are one of the more harder embellishments for me to use, which is crazy because I love all this dimension. I also made this one in a diagonal going this way because I tend to do a lot of left to right. And I think that's for me, I think it's because I am left-handed and we do read from left to right. So I kind of consciously make myself aware of that and try to do them this way to kind of break the line sometimes, because I do notice that when I put layouts together, sometimes they're all going to be going like this, and I got to break up that line of sight, I guess, or where your eye goes to. And I really like how this one is bookended. The photograph is bookended by these two clusters, and I like that it's going in the, I don't want to say it's in the opposite direction, but it's not my usual left to right. It's from the other corner. So that's this one. This is another double page layout. These were really fun to make. I like all the butterflies throughout. I tried using that punch again just because it's one of those things that's out on your desk, and so you're like, oh, easy, I'm just gonna use that element again. And that's kind of a good thing for an album because it just has that kind of element that you see throughout it. Hopefully they don't mind foliage because I used it more than once. I used craft paper to mat it. I used photo corners for a little bit of visual interest. I broke up the lines in the different pattern papers to kind of create this shelf so that the embellishments can sit on. They're all framed within the pattern papers. I wish I had the sleeves where they have it together, because this is such a cute like layout to see like that without that break in the line, right? I used these cut up hearts, and the way that I made them different and so that they wouldn't look blocky is I used several of the cut up hearts, but I also used different sized dies with this like stamp border that has a little bit of that stitching look in it. And I also used cork pieces in the layout to kind of go with the craft, and then all the beautiful colors that are in the garden that they're at. And because they're out in nature too, the foliage goes, the washi tape with the trees and the flowers go. And the only reason why I didn't put the flowers above the trees is because this washi looks a bit darker than the white, and that was my reasoning for that. Like I said, I put the foliage in between it. I like that they're white because it helps break up that pattern that I'm using in the background. I brought out some of the elements in the page and the colors too. It has green, and the green pattern paper has leaves in it, and then all of these beautiful colors I feel like come out in the photographs. So they're more nature-based photos. I gave myself the liberty to add some butterfly throughout the layout, and it kind of lends your eye to go across the layout like this too. Yeah, and I always give an opportunity. A tag can stand on its own, or they can also write a little bit of something if they choose to do so. This was a more dynamic layout because they are skydiving. These are skydiving photos, and I put several different paper, and I used an airplane washi that I had in one of the traveling washi books that I have from Mambi. I also kind of just threw the pattern paper. I made it look like it's kind of just haphazardly stacked with each other. It's titled Enjoy Life, and I used a lot of these puffy stickers. Here's some more with cameras because there's actual photographs of them skydiving. And then I have a tag here for an embellishment and also for a journaling opportunity that says be wild and skydive. And I just layered a tag sticker here, label sticker here, and then I actually stamped the word skydive on there. So be wild and then they can look at that, and it also has a string so they can pull it out. There's a here we go. This is from a little boy collection, but it had the airplane on it too, and so that's why I ended up using this washi strip, because I picked up the same detail. I put it on that layout. This one is from Die Cuts with the View. It's one of those where it had all of these elements in one sheet. I made a little title, and I don't know if they're llamas or alpacas. If I have the wrong animal and I didn't identify it correctly, I apologize. I'm not an expert on llamas nor alpacas, and so I just wanted to use the title. Let me tell you something, you make me laugh. It's yet another photo, but I kind of I like this idea of having this small photo in the center, using embellishments to just kind of keep you focused on the photograph itself, and I kind of bookend it so it makes a mirror where you mirror something. And this was a good element to put here on the bottom. There's trapped space, but for me, it doesn't feel like it because all of these chevrons kind of remind me of the same shape to the little mountain peaks that I put here. That might not be geographically correct because these llama/alpacas, lampacas, can we call them that? Or bigger than the mountain. And then I didn't have two of the same of each of these embellishments. And so I just put one of each, mirrored them with the little flower. And so I feel like that fit. I felt like this needed something. It wasn't framed by the actual pattern paper yet, but when I added this detail here, I really liked it, and I didn't even make it a whole frame. So it's just kind of like a 3-sided frame for the layout, and I kind of like that look. This is a Christmas layout, so I used the Christmas collection. I did several layers, 4 layers of pattern paper. It's from My Mind's Eye. This is chipboard, and so is that one and that one. So they're all kind of, it's only 2 layers. The pictures are glued on dimensional foam, and they're backed by this black and green like pine paper. I put them together. I tore off a piece here and I layered them, kind of stacked the pieces. I love the wood grain on here. I also wanted to give it more texture by adding the twine around the cut paper, the torn paper, and then I kind of framed the whole layout with these elements in black, these 3 photo corners, and then this circular chipboard piece that says love. This is probably my favorite punch. It's by Teresa Collins. I like adding it whenever I have Texas layouts. I really love using it, and I try to use it at every opportunity that I can. Put it on dimensional foam. I use a chipboard piece here so it kind of gives it different layers and different textures. I use some embellishment, and then this is a journaling card, and I also corner chomped it with the ticket stub punch, and I put the date there. I'm pretty sure this is 3 different collections, but I feel like they're cohesive. This one here is from Heidi Swapp. It's the old school collection. I had just bought this paper pad, and so I wanted to play with it. I have several elements that are from different places, however. The wave paper is from old school. The blue paper is from, I want to say it's from the Carefree collection or from Sunchaser. That's from, I believe that's where that's from. These are from several of her collections, and they all go. I stapled these on with a Tim Holtz tiny attacher. Then I just did the left to right diagonal as well. They have a tag here. It kind of blends into the background, and I like that just in case they decide not to add any journaling. It can stand alone like this, or they can add their journaling here and still cohesively go together. And I felt like I had trap space between here and the waves. I just felt like it was missing one here, but I would have just needed to have used all the sheet as well. So I really like how that came out, especially because they're pictures at SeaWorld, and so I kind of wanted like a water element, and I thought that went really well. I added this piece of Maggie Holmes paper right here, and it has some coral, and then I added a little sticker, kind of like a little tucky. I wanted to repeat the circular element, so it has it here, here, and here, or you could use the big circle too. I put D and M to represent the letters of their first names. I added some star clear stickers. The fun element is the holographic washi tape that is bookending the top and the bottom of the layout. This one is really busy now that I look at it. This is probably one of the busier ones that I made, but I like all the elements. I have snowflakes, and I kind of wanted them to go across this way because they're on the pattern paper here. And I used this banner with little puffy sticker elements stamped several of these snowflakes and die cut them. And then this is a Martha Stewart punch that I used with a couple of different pattern papers. I added a little spot where they can write something about their day out. The title says play all day. I added a number 2 tag, and this was from Maggie Holmes. I have several pattern papers matting the photograph. Used a border punch too as well. I think that's an American Crafts border paper punch. So that's that one. This is using Heidi Swapp paper. It's backed on a black piece of cardstock paper, and then it has a open circle pattern paper, then the floral, and then I cut, it looks like an 8x10 or piece of pattern paper as well that I stenciled with some, I don't even remember the color of the ink, but it has a kind of green tint to it, and I took that color, I took creative license, and I borrowed that color to make it look, I feel like it looks like the color in the photograph. And then I used this embellishment piece. Pretty sure it's also Heidi Swapp. The only thing that isn't Heidi Swapp, I believe, is this little washi tape that I have here. And then these are also not from Heidi Swapp, these two. And it has a little vellum pocket. The vellum actually has that print of floral, and I just glued that down so that I can put their journaling spot here. And I just stamped details on it, used some twine. And then I also typed this with my We Are Memory Keepers typewriter that says, "Photos are a return ticket to places once traveled." Really liked the photo, really liked the layout. I hope they enjoy it as much as I did making it. This is actually using a kit that I won from my friend Janet over at RTS, and I used a lot of the elements that she had, with the exception of the 12x12 paper. I had this, so I used mainly these square pieces of paper. I think they were in 6x6. And then I just ended up using them to kind of like a loose grid. That's what it is, because there's 4 of them. And then I used my favorite are border punches. I like using them because they give you a lot of dimension. These pinwheels are actual travel pinwheels, and I just kind of covered them up. If I couldn't cover the whole picture up with the element that I have on top, I just punched a circle and then covered that up, because these are travel rosettes, and so I wanted something that was more patriotic, and I really love the colors. Even though this is an easy 4th of July picture because they're both wearing red, white, and blue, I like the fact that it kind of looks rustic because there's a fence behind them, and so that's what I used for one of the pattern papers in the background. They're wearing blue, so I brought that out, and red, and the sparkle just kind of reminds me of fireworks, and so that's why I gave myself creative license to use that as a border, to use this washi. I also used some of these word stickers from Tim Holtz. This one says "Stars and Stripes," "United we stand," and "We salute you," and used a couple of the elements that were in that kit. So I was really happy that I was able to use some of that kit. Oh, I do have to say, this paper matting the photograph is embossed. So I was really enjoying using those papers. I think in an earlier layout, I also used another paper like that. I think one thing that would be good from now on is to actually emboss some of those on one of those days where you're making either embellishments or you have a little bit of free time. Use some of those embossing folders, and just, even if it's just in cardstock, these were white. Oh, the other one is the One Canoe 2 one. So like this one is also embossed, and I used it in here. It does create that different type of texture, and it's just something different to add in your layouts. If I had to choose a least favorite layout, it's probably this one, because I don't think that what I was envisioning in my mind's eye actually came out the way I wanted it to. This Amy Tangerine paper. I think this is Studio Calico, but these are embellishments from Amy Tangerine also. I fussy cut some of the embellishment. The focal point does kind of remain, I think, to the photograph. And I just really like his face here. So I wanted to make it like a happy layout, but I don't know that their faces are so like polar opposites. It's like one end of the spectrum totally happy and the other one not so much. So that's why I made the title Suns Out Fun's Out, and I used some star die cuts in here, and they're kind of getting lost in the layout, and so I traced them with black ink. There's several here too, and then I added these floral elements from Pink Fresh Studio, and yeah, that was my layout. And the last one is just photographs that my friend took, and so I felt like I wanted to give it more like a paper to be filed type of layout. I used 4 photo corners to frame everything in, and I borrowed that from the black background in this photograph, so I was able to use black elements. Then this one looked like craft paper to me. That's how I ended up using the craft and browns in the layout as well. I didn't totally want to make it just those colors, and so I used some Vicki Boutin pattern paper, some tags from Vicki Boutin, and some elements from Vicki Boutin. And then I used this pattern paper because I wanted to use some of these elements. These are dimensional elements from Teresa Collins, and they have that red, but I did use my punch. This one has the square holes in them. Here's another Teresa Collins dimensional embellishment. I also used some Tim Holtz tiny attacher. So even though these are glued or ATG taped down, I also added them for texture. And I used these ghost letters, which are also attached with a mini stapler from Tim Holtz, and it kind of gives it that school type of layout, I guess, but it really has nothing to do with school. It's kind of more like a to be filed or a reminder, and so I added this typewriter as well. It's mainly like quotes or something that they wanted to remember. I used these craft circles. They're like mandala circles or something, and I just thought they would add a cool shape and element too. Kind of a floral element because I did bring in this tag, and then I was able to use these pattern papers and layer them on top behind the photograph. So that's the second part of this gift album that I am sending out to my friends. I hope they enjoy this album as much as I did. Hopefully they'll send me more pictures because this is way delayed, this album. I really had so much fun creating this for them. I do make albums for my sisters and my nieces, and I do occasionally make some for myself. But this was just really fun to make. So I know that it was really long and really chatty. I appreciate you staying till the end, my friends, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.